Celica Supras, a $2,000 savings at a time when you want a fuel-efficient car, at a time when you want a style leader, a quality-built car. Now you get Celica Supras at a $2,000 savings. Over $600 from the U.S. distributor, $500 from the factory in Japan, hundreds more from your Toyota dealer. This $2,000 savings on all Celica Supras is until midnight through this weekend and until midnight on Labor Day only at your Toyota dealers.
Hello, I'm Patrick O'Neill. Education needs your support. Nothing but the best for education. Florida deserves it.
Beauty Queens, Monday at 9 on Donahue. From Channel 10, South Florida's most complete news service, this is Newswatch.
Good evening. With Anna Asqui, I'm Art Carlson. Tonight, South Florida remains poised on the edge of receiving its first hurricane in 16 years. Hurricane David has already passed through the Bahamas, leaving flooded streets, toppled trees, and knocking out power. Communications with the out islands has been cut off completely. Hurricane David is headed towards South Florida and is about 175 miles offshore. This Sky 10 tape shows our area is already wet from rain squalls preceding the storm. Winds are picking up and trees are being buffeted about by a steady blow and an occasional strong gust of wind. Most streets are fairly deserted for this time of day. Most people are inside, either testing the work they've done to protect their homes or working at boarding up. Some residents of low-lying areas have already evacuated their homes and are headed for or already in various shelters available to those who cannot stay safely at home. These first tapes from Santo Domingo show the aftermath of Hurricane David, where at least 600 people were killed, many of them as they huddled together in a church trying to get away from the storm. The church was flooded. Many were unable to escape. Trees were toppled in the Dominican Republic. Homes were washed away. Power was knocked out. Military troops are working to clear up the area, helping those who are homeless or separated from their families. The Dominican Republic was hit by the full force of Hurricane David, and the devastating damage left in its wake is evident in those first reports from the island. Newswatch meteorologist Don No has been tracking Hurricane David all day as he moves closer to South Florida. Don's at the map now to tell us the latest. Don?
Thank you, Art. The latest coordinates on Hurricane David as of 6 o'clock tonight. The latest advisory, the numbers are north latitude 24.3, west longitude 78.0. And that puts the center of Hurricane David about 175 miles to the southeast of Miami. Now, the tracking movement of Hurricane David continues to be a northwest movement at 10 to 12 miles per hour. And at that rate, they are projecting now that the center of the hurricane could possibly pass over land if it were remaining on that track. If it does not deviate, which is a big if, the center of the hurricane could pass over someplace over southeast Florida about daybreak tomorrow. And that would be preceded by several hours by gale force winds and by squalls and, of course, a very, very heavy rain. Now, Andros Island just reported about an hour ago 80 to 90 mile-an-hour winds, and they think now that the hurricane is going to strengthen somewhat in the next several hours and over the night. So right now, the highest force winds are still 90 miles an hour for Hurricane David. It's moving northwest at about 10 to 12 miles per hour. And later on in Newswatch, in the regular weather segment, I'll have an update not only on David, but also on the other hurricane, Hurricane Frederick, which is still threatening the Leeward Islands and the Lesser Antilles. Right now, let's have more on Hurricane David, and here's Anna.
Thank you, Don. Newswatch reporter Richard Schlesinger is standing by with more of the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. Richard, what's the latest you can tell us about the progress of the storm?
And I think Don covered that pretty well in terms of where the forecasters are saying now the storm is and where it's headed. They are now working on a new statement that is supposed to be out momentarily. We are all awaiting that. Don gave you the coordinates. There has been an evacuation request issued from here today covering the low-lying coastal areas of Dade, Broward counties and the Florida Keys. The reports that we had were that traffic was building up on US 1 coming up to the mainland. We are awaiting the latest report from the forecast center just down the hall from where we are now, and as soon as we have that, of course, we will come back to you. Richard Schlesinger live at the Hurricane Center.
Thank you, Richard. As Richard said, Governor Graham issued an evacuation order this afternoon for residents of the Upper Keys and the coastal areas of Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. The order affects approximately 80,000 people, and the governor made provision for the National Guard to aid in the evacuation should problems arise. The governor echoed much of the sentiment being expressed by weather forecasters in making that decision. The governor now says the evacuations must be completed by midnight tonight, otherwise high winds will make the evacuations impossible.
Is a very potentially serious hurricane. It's currently at 90 miles an hour. Anticipation is for intensification. The possibilities are that it's going to land someplace in the area from the Upper Keys to Palm Beach County at about daybreak tomorrow. That happens to also coincide with high tide, so we're anticipating surges in the 7 to 10 foot range above normal water height. So that creates the potential for some major flooding in the low-lying areas, and that's why we feel it's important to evacuate and do so before the front edge of the hurricane gets here, to do so during the daylight hours.
One of the first effects of the governor's order was a monumental traffic jam on the Florida Turnpike. At the Fort Pierce Service Plaza, a line of cars 2 miles long stacked up waiting for gas, effectively blocking the northbound lane. The Highway Patrol got things straightened out, though, but the plazas are limiting gas to $5 per car. Turnpike officials are hoping the plazas can get hold of more gasoline under the governor's emergency allocation plan. Well, the hub of Dade County's emergency preparedness tonight is the Civil Defense Headquarters in Southwest Dade. That's where Newswatch reporter Steve Croft is standing by with a live-action camera. Steve?
I'm standing here with Chet Fisher from the Civil Defense Headquarters in South Dade County. Chet's been doing this for 18 and a half years, or preparing to do it. It's actually been 14 years since you've actually had an operation like this. How are things going right now?
Well, they started off rather hectic at first, but things are beginning to settle down a little bit now. We just got an update on the evacuation procedures on Miami Beach. And so far they have a little bit more than 4,000 that they have evacuated, utilizing 50 Metro school buses.
Are we on the air? No. Okay, well, change it. Will you get the monitor to the right channel?
Broward Bureau reporter Jim Reynolds spent part of today at the Broward Civil Defense Headquarters. And according to Jim, most of the residents in that area spent the day battening down their homes. But with the approach of the storm now imminent, for most, it meant leaving nearly everything behind.
As the storm marched towards the coast of South Florida, more and more Broward homes and businesses sprouted plywood windows. The pace of last-minute preparations seemed to peak around mid-afternoon. There were gas lines. It seemed that no one wanted to be caught without a full tank. At Broward's Emergency Operations Center, officials plotted the storm's progress, and at 3 o'clock they ordered an evacuation of damage-prone areas in the county.
The people in mobile homes in Broward County, all of the mobile homes cannot withstand hurricanes, and those people should leave. We're also talking about people who live east of the intercoastal, who are asked now either to evacuate those buildings or at least move above the 3rd floor in those buildings. We're also talking about people who live east of the intercoastal and live in dwellings or buildings less than 3 stories high, and they should consider moving out as well. And we're also particularly interested in the residents who live west of the intercoastal on the islands or waterway areas which are drained by the intercoastal. I think you can see that the surge of water which may possibly come in there and give them a problem is something we need to deal with. Also, we're talking about residents of Broward County who are known flood-prone areas.
Sheriff's deputies took to the streets to make sure no one missed the evacuation order.
What you need to do is you can contact people in your park. The shelter area in here is the Criminal Justice Building out of Broward Community College. Very good. Okay? And that's your designated shelter area. So if you could contact them and just tell them, to start moving out that way.
Swaying Palms Mobile Home Park in Davie looked like a ghost town. Nearly everyone had left or were leaving their mobile homes. A small crowd had gathered inside the park's recreation center to weather the storm in the big CBS building.
What are you going to do tonight?
I'm going to hold hands. Yeah, warm up. See what's left of me. I got to find out tonight.
If everyone in the affected areas in Broward County takes the evacuation order as seriously as the folks have done in this mobile home park, Broward officials believe they'll have won at least half of their battle against Hurricane David. Jim Reynolds, Newswatch 10, Davie.
We obviously had some confusion down at the Dade County Civil Defense Office a little while ago. Reporter Steve Croft is still there with the live action camera, so let's go back and see how evacuation procedures are doing in Dade County. Steve?
Thank you, Art, and we are on the air. I'm here with Chet Fisher, and we're going over just how things are progressing tonight. Have there been any problems that you haven't anticipated that have popped up tonight?
Well, this thing came upon us rather rapidly, you know, because of the change in this direction. The big problem, I think, was that the time element that we've had to work with there. Things have been coming thick and fast. I just checked on the Miami Beach evacuation situation, and we find that they have, so far, a few more than about 4,000 people have been evacuated, utilizing about 50 MTA buses, Medicar vehicles, and so on. They did have a little bit of a problem initially in their communications, in that the buses were being sent to pickup points, and there was no one there. So they have since remedied this problem by sending the Miami Beach police vehicles there with radio control back to the control point, and the bus will not come until the police officers say that they have enough there to take care of the bus.
Earlier this evening, we had one of our reporters, Frank Lynn, at a Red Cross shelter, and Frank was saying that there was no food there and that the people running the shelter had no idea when the food might arrive. What's the problem? Do you know anything about that?
Well, the problem seemed to be, in talking to Jim Landrum earlier this evening, we find that the agency distributing the food for the Red Cross had only 21 drivers that reported for duty. And were
there more that were supposed to report?
More were supposed to, because they had some 50 shelters to total, and each of them, a driver had one or more of these. So at least they should have been, if they only had 2, they should have been at least 25. But 21 reported, and they have since found that they have had to open more schools. For example, Camel Drive down in Homestead area had to be closed out with 800, which was its capacity. They have opened another one, and now I understand that the South Dade Government Center, they're also trying to open that. And I'm attempting to get the approval from Red Cross to see whether or not it can be properly staffed and so on. Maybe we'll have to use that one as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chet. The most crucial part of the civil defense operation out here tonight is communications and coordination.
East side of the bridge.
Okay, thank you very much. Information is flowing into here from a wide range of sources, a lot of it by radio, CB radios, ham radios, tonight stationed all across South Florida. The people operating them are volunteering their services in feeding information to local governments and state agencies who can do something about the problems that are cropping up. One of the volunteers that we talked to here tonight is Joel Candell.
This particular radio here are ham operators specifically. We are located in all of the county zone command posts. We have people right now in hospitals. We have someone at Parkway General Hospital. We have people on emergency power in Homestead Air Force Base, Cutler Ridge, South Dade Government Center, Hialeah Police Department. We will have someone at the International Airport and so forth. The network is growing. It's still early, but we will have radio amateurs just about in every strategic area in the county.
There are some shelter overcrowding problems, as Chet Fisher mentioned earlier. They're looking for alternate sites on 2 of them right now. We'll get back to you as soon as we have that information. Steve Croft, Newswatch 10, at the Dade County Civil Defense Shelter in South Dade.
Thank you, Steve. The Red Cross has designated 20 schools in Broward as hurricane shelters for residents there. Let's take a look at where they are. The shelters up in Broward County, if we can have that information, there we are. Coconut Creek High School at 1400 Northwest 44th Avenue. In Cooper City, it should be the Pioneer Middle School on Southwest 90th Avenue. Moving around the county in Coral Springs, the Coral Springs High School at 7201 Sample Road, and in Dania, Olson High School, 1301 Southeast 2nd Avenue. In Davie, Nova High School on Southwest 70th Avenue, Flamingo Elementary School, 1130 Southwest 133rd Avenue, and in Deerfield, the Deerfield Beach High School, 910 Southwest 15th Street. In Fort Lauderdale, the Dillard High School is a established shelter at 2501 Northwest 11th Street, the Fort Lauderdale High School at 1600 Northeast 4th Avenue, and Stranahan High School, 1800 Southwest 5th Place. There are also more in Hallandale. Hallandale High School, 720 Northwest 9th Avenue. In Hollywood, Hollywood Hills at 5400 Sterling Road, and MacArthur High School at 6501 Hollywood Boulevard. There are quite a few in Broward County. Bear with us. Lauderdale Lakes, Boyd Anderson High School on Northwest 41st Street. In Lauderhill, Castle Hill at 2640 Northwest 46th Avenue. And in Margate, the Margate Middle School, 500 Northwest 65th Avenue. In Miramar, it is the Miramar High School, 3601 Southwest 89th Avenue. In North Lauderdale Elementary School, 7500 Kimberly Boulevard. And in Oakland Park, Northeast High School, 700 Northeast 56th Street. In Pembroke Pines, the Pines Middle School on 200 North Douglas Road. In Plantation, the Plantation High School, 6901 Northwest 16th Street. In Pompano Beach, the Pompano Beach High School at 1400 Northeast 6th Street, and Ely High School at 801 Northwest 10th Street. These lists will be read periodically through the night as we go along in our coverage here. And it's the type of thing that you can't see these things enough, and as often as we can bring them to you, we will. In Sunrise, it is the Piper High School at 8000 Northwest 43rd Place. In Tamarack, the Tamarack Elementary School, 760 University Drive. Again, these are all approved shelters. They will be safe from the storm. In Pembroke Park, the Hallandale High School. In Wilton Manors, we have the Fort Lauderdale High School. And in Oakland Park, it's the Northeast Middle School. In Parkland, it's the Coral Springs High School. If you have any questions on these, don't hesitate to call the Broward County Civil Defense Department. They're handling all the coordination and efforts surrounding these. In Hacienda Village, you should go to Nova High School. In Hillsborough Beach, to the Deerfield Beach High School. And if you live in Lauderdale by the Sea, go to Pompano Beach High School. The shelters have been set up there, and they are expecting you. As we said, we've had these shelters listed now for several hours. We will come back to more of these shelters as we go along. If the Red Cross or Civil Defense sets up anything else, you'll be the first to know. We'll have it right here on Channel 10, and we'll get it on to you just as soon as we possibly can. Anna?
Hundreds of Dade residents have headed for shelters, especially residents of Miami Beach. We're told we don't have that tape right now. As Art just mentioned, we just gave you the list of the shelters in Broward County. Soon we'll be giving you the list of the shelters in Dade County. Standing by at the National Hurricane Center is Richard Schlesinger for the latest report and the latest coordinates on Hurricane David. And we're going to Coral Gables now. Richard?
This local statement amplifies the latest advisory and gives specific actions to be taken in the following counties: the Upper Keys portion of Monroe County, Dade, Broward, Martin, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, Glades, and Henry counties. At 7 o'clock, the Hurricane David was centered near latitude 24.4 north and longitude 78.1 west, and that is about 165 miles southeast of Miami. The hurricane continues to move toward the northwest at 12 to 15 miles an hour. Local government officials, in cooperation with the governor's office, have recommended evacuation of low-lying coastal areas of Dade and Broward counties and the upper Florida Keys. Hurricane warnings have now been extended northward along the coast through Martin and St. Lucie counties, and residents of those areas should listen for directives from local officials. Any evacuations must be completed before rising tides cut off routes to the mainland. Details pertaining to evacuation, including shelter locations, transportation, are being issued by county government officials, and they are being broadcast by radio and television stations. It has been recommended that persons in the Upper Keys north of the 7 Mile Bridge evacuate northward to Miami. Due to extremely low elevations, roads connecting the Keys to the mainland likely will be cut off by tides early this evening. Tides along the southeast coast and Upper Keys are running 1 to 2 feet above normal. The surf is rough. Tides will increase during the evening. Gusts to 50 miles an hour were reported in the Miami area during the afternoon. Winds will be increasing steadily during the evening through all of the hurricane warning area. Hurricane preparations in the warning area should be rushed to completion. Specific action should include the following. Occupants of mobile homes should secure their property and seek shelter in permanent-type structures on high ground. Boat owners should move quickly to protect their craft before conditions render this too dangerous. All loose objects around homes and construction sites must be secured, as they can do enormous damage in hurricane conditions. Windows and glass doors should be boarded up or taped. Large sliding glass doors should be wedged so that they cannot vibrate out of their tracks. End of statement.
Mr. Hope, with the increasing amount of counties that are being issued hurricane warnings, is it your opinion that this hurricane is going to go right up through Florida?
It looks very much as if it will come into Florida, and we're not ready yet to pick the exact spot, but the northern counties are threatened, the ones that have been added, as well as the counties that were in the warning area previously.
Are we looking at a hurricane, though, that might go right up through the state of Florida and then into Georgia?
That is altogether possible. It could go right up through Florida, or could even come out on the west coast. It's just too early to say about that.
At this point, however, it is aiming straight at Miami.
Very close to straight at Miami. Very close.
How big is this storm?
It's increased some, and it's up to 90 miles an hour. We haven't seen a lot of increase during the afternoon. The center of the hurricane has been over Andros Island, actually, for a couple of hours. Now, in satellite pictures, we see that the eye is not quite so distinct. We've had some reports from Andros indicating the winds are estimated at 115 miles an hour.
115?
115, estimated. That's not a measured wind.
Any reports of damage?
No reports of damage.
This storm grew fairly steadily during the day. Can we expect to see some more increasing at night? Are the conditions favorable at night as they are in the day?
Yes, we think we will see some more increase. We think perhaps it'll level off an hour or two because the eye has been right over land. Andros, as you know, is a fairly large island, and the eye has been over it now for 2 hours, just about.
And what does that mean for...
Well, that means that the trend we saw for increasing early in the day was temporarily retarded. But we expect that the increasing trend to resume this evening.
You mentioned that we should expect more strong winds tonight. Can you give us some times? How late in the evening will this wind start getting strong, and how strong will they get?
Well, we got the one band of pretty strong winds came in early this afternoon. Now, we have other bands right behind that, and we would expect to see now during the next few hours some more of these rain bands coming in. And each one of those will have strong gusty winds, increasing each time, I believe.
It looks from the map that Nassau is getting a great deal of the impact of this hurricane. Have you heard anything from Nassau?
Yes, I talked to Nassau. They are some distance, though, away from the center, and they've had stronger winds than we have, but nothing very excessive. They've had gusts up into the 40s, and that was the strongest they had reported as of about 1 hour ago.
What is the latest time that people have to get out of the Keys before the bridges wash over?
Well, we would think during the next several hours. It's hard to pin a definite hour, but the tides are going to be coming up, and there will be areas that are likely to be cut off within the next few hours.
These bands that you say are also coming in the next few hours.
Yes.
Is there a potential for damage in these time periods?
Until we get in pretty close to the core of the storm, I think the damage would be superficial. It certainly would be enough to blow loose objects around and break branches off trees and that sort of thing. Might even put some wires down.
What areas of the Keys are you concerned about in terms of roads being washed out?
We're concerned about the upper Keys. The upper Keys are the only ones that are under the hurricane warning.
I understand, but which you say roads might be washed out? Do you in what part of?
Well, we're thinking of the ones on the north just coming into the mainland, or Card Sound and approaching the Card Sound Bridge and so on.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That was our latest report from the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables. Of course, looking at a map like that doesn't give you any real indication of what's going on outside. So let's go up top on Channel 10's broadcast house and look down the boulevard toward downtown Miami. And you can see the winds are definitely starting to pick up. The sunshine is still shining in some spots, but the cloud cover is starting to roll in, and by later this evening, by the time the sun goes down, we should start feeling more of the effects of that. This is certainly going to increase as time goes on, with the storm only 165 miles away now and progressing in toward us. We will keep you posted throughout the evening as any information and bulletins become available. Anna?
With the evacuation order in effect in Dade, some 50 schools in this county have been set up as shelters. Hundreds of Dade residents have headed for those shelters, especially residents of Miami Beach. Franklin reports the evacuation system appears to be working well, although there are some problems.
We're at Edison Senior High School in northwest Miami. It's been open for use as a shelter since noon today, but until 3:30 this afternoon, only a few people had walked in. It was about then that Metro buses began unloading their first full loads of evacuees, most of them from Miami Beach. Within a half hour, more than 300 were on hand at Edison High. Many of them elderly were being put up in a comfortable ground floor room.
We live in Collins Avenue.
16th, it's right opposite the ocean.
Listen, this is your first hurricane?
Yeah. Yeah, we've only been here since May.
As soon as we heard the warning this morning, that it turned into a warning, and that everybody who has single-story buildings or double-story buildings should evacuate, we went and we got in the car, my father and the children and I, and we went to the 36th Street, the high school there, and we drove all around, and the whole school was locked, and there was no one in sight. And then we waited with the busload of people, got stuck in the rain, and then we came here.
Many others, including the younger and active, and a number of young families will spend the night in the Edison gym. About 400 people, again, mostly from Miami Beach, are now at Alapata Junior High School, where 2 Red Cross volunteers told us they were helping school personnel. However, officials at all the shelters we visited late this afternoon said they had no cots and no indication from the Red Cross when any cots would arrive. The evacuation plan appears to be working, however, via the radio-equipped Metro buses.
Destination be Miami Beach Convention Center.
Mr. Roberts, how many trips have you made?
8. 8 trips since this morning.
Full bus?
Full loads.
Any problems?
Yes, a lot of problems. The people are confused because they don't know where they're going. And they don't know whether or not there's food and water and proper facilities for them, and they put the pressure on me. I've had more of a problem in loading the people because they all standing on top of each other trying to get on.
There were about 600 people this afternoon at another shelter, Miami Jackson Senior High. They were being taken to the gymnasium. The mood there definitely upbeat. Youngsters were playing, and there were some other diversions as well, such as card games, a chance to make some new friends. There was an awful lot of talking going on as everybody tried to get settled for what probably will be a very long night. Metro buses will continue to head for pickup points all along Miami Beach and will do so as long as weather conditions permit. Only a few people have yet driven to the shelters, but all of them have plenty of parking facilities if you need to park your car there. Those in charge at the shelters expect the tempo of arrivals will pick up this evening. Frank Lynn, Newswatch 10.
As we've mentioned already, the Red Cross has designated 50 public schools in Dade County and 20 schools in Broward where area residents can go if they decide not to weather the storm in their homes. In Dade County, the schools are, and we're going to list them and we're going to read them. Evacuation centers in Key West: Glen Archer Junior High School, Mary Immaculate High School, the USO Building, AME Zion, Old Stone Annex, and Harris Elementary School. On Stock Island, Baptist Temple, Monroe Moving and Storage on Maloney Avenue, and all of the Key West evacuation centers. On Sugarloaf Key, the evacuation centers are volunteer fire departments and all Stock Island and Key West evacuation centers. Continuing in the Dade County list, Big Pine Key, no, this is Monroe County, Big Pine Key, Baptist Church, Methodist Church, Youth Center, and portion of Big Pine Key Road Prison. In Homestead, we have South Ridge Senior High School, South Dade Senior High School, Campbell Drive Junior High. Okay, now we're going to the evacuation centers in Southwest Miami that are already open and ready for you to evacuate your home and come on there. Coral Park Senior High School, Kendale Lakes Elementary, Royal Green Elementary, Richmond Heights Junior High School, Coral Gables Senior High, South Miami Senior High, McMillan Junior High, and Miami Sunset Senior. In Little Havana, we have the Miami Senior High School, and we're told there are a lot of people there who speak Spanish. In Central Miami, we have North Miami Beach Senior High, Miami Edison Senior, North Miami Senior, Miami Springs Senior, Alapata Junior, Miami Jackson Senior High, and Horace Mann Junior High School. In the northwest section of Miami, the shelters are Miami Central High and Arcola Elementary. The Red Cross says most of its shelters are already manned and all of them will be working by the time the hurricane hits. But the Red Cross says it didn't anticipate such a high number of people seeking shelter so early, and it's putting out the word it needs more volunteers. The Red Cross is especially looking for licensed and registered nurses, but anyone ready to lend a hand will be welcome. If you want to volunteer, call the Red Cross at the number 576-4600. Again, that number is 576-4600 for the Red Cross, or you can stop by their offices at 5020 Biscayne Boulevard. Art?
Well, speaking of medical problems, medical personnel at Jackson Memorial Hospital have several major problems on their hands tonight. And as Newswatch reporter Joan Hall found out, one of those was not anticipated.
Hurricane David has yet to hit South Florida, but it has already created a major problem in the emergency room at Jackson Memorial Hospital. The facility is jammed, but not everyone there requires emergency care. The room is so packed that beds are being lined up in front of the main entrance.
We have a number of people who are panicking, and although they have no acute medical problem, they are coming to the emergency room for shelter. And we're encouraging individuals who do not have acute medical problems to go to their nearest shelter area.
Are you able to cope adequately, or are you finding that things are getting pretty stretched?
Things are getting very stretched. We're talking to individuals in the lobby area now, and those who can go to shelter areas, we are diverting them there.
There's another major influx at the county medical facility. Pregnant women are continuously arriving to check in. Doctors say they expect anywhere from 400 to 600 pregnant women before the storm fully moves in. Normally, the hospital sees 600 pregnant women a month.
There are some people who believe that as the barometric pressure drops, the difference between the barometric pressure and the pressure within the womb, that difference gets larger, and that may contribute partially towards setting or starting labor for that particular patient. The other factors are there are many people outside who probably are going to imminently deliver, and considering they may not be able to get to the hospital, as a precautionary measure, they're brought into the hospital. We're really talking about those at high risk as well as those who have indications that they are about to deliver.
The women urged to check in are those who are Jackson Clinic patients. These should be in their 9th month of pregnancy or in their 7th month and expecting twins, or who are diabetic. They are advised to bring their medicine, a pillow, and blanket with them when they register. Jackson Memorial Hospital has set up several hundred cots for its staff during the hurricane. Some of the staff members are even bringing in their families for the duration. The fear, however, is what the situation will be after the storm passes. Joan Hall, Newswatch 10, Jackson Memorial Hospital.
One final note about hospitals. Area health officials are asking county residents tonight not to go to a hospital seeking shelter. Hospitals want their available space for emergency cases. As we mentioned, the Red Cross has opened shelters around the Dade and Broward area, so do not go to a hospital if you're seeking shelter. We'll take a look at how South Florida's been preparing the welcome mat for David. That's next on Newswatch.
Your ship has just come in. World Tile, Florida's fastest growing ceramic tile importer, sells direct to the public at big savings. Select from World Tile's huge inventory. Hundreds of styles, colors, and patterns. Install it yourself or have it professionally installed by World Tile. If you want the timeless beauty, the durability, and practicality of tile at big savings, your ship has just come in.
Premiering Monday, September 17th, the Sultan of Comedy is back.
In the Bible, it says, God made man his own image. He made women after, from a rib, a cheaper cut.
In an all outrageous, contagious, hour full of comedy. The all original, All in the Family. Weekdays at 5, premiering Monday, September 17th on TV 10.
Oh, ain't that lovely?
As we've mentioned, the storm's about 165 miles away from us right now. And Don, what's the word? The radar showing anything picking up around here? We've had a lot of storms and rain today so far.
Well, we had one little squall go through about 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon.
I know, it was in the middle of it.
A lot of us probably wondered if that was the start of the hurricane, but no, it was not. It was the squalls that frequently precede hurricanes. And I think we're going to take a look at the radar right now, and we'll see what it looks like. And I believe the radar is on the 250-mile range. And all of that stuff that you can see off to the east of us is the leading edge of the hurricane. Now, the reason it is not completely symmetrical, that you don't see the whole circle, is because much of the rain is being what they call attenuated. and the radar echoes bounce off most of the heavy rain, very dense precipitation, and cannot penetrate it. So we're probably looking very close to the center, but probably not through the center of the hurricane. Now, if you notice the red spots off to the top, I'll wait till the sweep comes around and I'll tell you exactly what I mean. The red areas, those of you with color TV, that sweep on that spiral band right there through there. Okay, now that is the first, probably one of the stronger squalls that is expected to come through here later on this evening. It looks like it's still about 75, 100 miles offshore from the looks of that. And that probably contains winds of, at least the gale force winds, which is 35 miles per hour or above. So that's the live radar picture of the hurricane, and I'm sure we're going to be checking in with that throughout the night. You can see that it is definitely on the way, and it's probably going to arrive here sometime after midnight tonight. They're right now forecasting that the eye of the hurricane will pass someplace close to South Florida around dawn tomorrow.
South Florida's lucky streak finally ran out.
I think so.
All right. Thank you, Don. Anna?
Miami Beach will be one of the most vulnerable areas during the hurricane strike. Newswatch reporter Joe Bergantino spent the day on the beach where officials have had a difficult time evacuating residents, a situation which could prove disastrous.
This morning, Miami Beach was a quiet city, but all over this island there were signs that David was on its way. At hotels, baggage lined the sidewalks, the cabbies were busier than ever, and the tourists were more than just anxious to leave.
Came here from Jackson, Mississippi to visit my mother for a week, and now this has come up. It's rather frightening.
Earlier in the morning, fire and police officials decided to stick to their plans not to evacuate until the word came from the National Hurricane Center. So by noon, only a few of the thousands who would have to leave the beach were gathering at pickup points, their destination the mainland. By mid-afternoon, the mood was changing. The word came to evacuate, and the people here, both young and old, were boarding buses for designated shelters inland. Rescue coordinators were cautiously voicing confidence.
I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to take care of everyone that wants to leave. And I think if they come right now and get ready before dark, we'll be able to take care of everyone.
But there are problems. 3,000 sick and helpless senior citizens must be evacuated to rooms at the Miami Beach Convention Center before the storm hits. But so far, only a handful have been moved there. And to complicate matters, rescue coordinators are receiving an increasing number of calls to help more invalids relocate at the center. At some of the pickup centers, the buses are only trickling in. Only a few hundred have left so far, and the delays are sparking frustration and anger.
I've been waiting since 11:30 here.
No buses have come for you?
One bus just come by 20 minutes ago. And they done right. They took the elder people, crippled, and children. And we sitting there waiting for next.
Think you're going to make it?
I hope so.
So even at this hour, there is no definite answer to the question of whether or not Miami Beach rescue efforts will succeed or fail and leave a disaster the likes of which this city has never seen before. Joe Bergantino, Newswatch 10 on Miami Beach.
The latest word we have from Miami Beach is that officials are having trouble relocating some 3,000 invalids to the city's convention center, but those who are able to leave the beach for the mainland are leaving in increasing numbers. The latest figure we have is that 4,000 have left. Well, as Joe said, Miami Beach city officials have designated a number of areas where beach residents may go to catch emergency bus service to a shelter. These areas, we want to stress, are not shelters, but only pickup points for emergency bus service. The pickup areas in Miami Beach are the following: South Beach Activity Center, 25 Washington Avenue, the 6th Street Community Center at 822 6th Street, the Miami Beach Employees Benevolent Hall at 920 Alton Road, the Old City Hall at 1130 Washington Avenue, Ida Fisher Community School, 1424 Drexel Avenue, the Convention Center at 1700 Convention Center Drive, the Youth Center at 2700 Sheridan Avenue, Bayshore Golf Club located at 2301 Alton Road, the Temple Beth Shalom at 4144 Chase Avenue, the North Shore Park at 501 72nd Street, and Biscayne Elementary School at 800 77th Street. Going back to Art.
Okay. Another area that is obviously in danger of the storm's fury is Key Biscayne, and that island is virtually shut down tonight. Newswatch reporter Steve Croft tells us the emergency action began there early today.
I'm going to pick up my family with moving baggage. They live on Key Biscayne? Yeah, we're on Key Biscayne, and we're moving them out. Okay. Last trip. Thank you.
By late morning, sheriff's deputies were already in place at the toll gate for the Rickenbacker Causeway. Authorities were calling it an informal shutdown.
Well, we're just letting residents go over, people that are going over for board-up operations, emergency traffic only right now. We're not letting the sightseers that want to go to the Sea Aquarium and sunbathers. We've had a lot of them try to get over this morning, but not letting them over.
At midday, there was a fairly steady flow of traffic off of the island, with many people deciding to seek shelter on the mainland without being ordered to do so. On the bay, you had to strain your eyes to find a single boat, but there were a few stragglers seeking safe harbor. Most of the gas stations on Key Biscayne were closed, and the few that were open planned to shut down before nightfall. The lines to gas up were fairly short. Are you going to stay out here for the storm, or are you leaving?
No, I'm staying with my mother in town. Not because I'm afraid of it. Although I live here, I love to be here, but she wants me with her. She's afraid I want to keep her company. She's 84 years old.
Why would you like to stay here?
Oh, I love to see the waves come up. I live at the towers, right on the ocean. I live on the face of the ocean. I love to see those big waves.
We're going to wait and see just what happens. We're ready to go if the storm comes in close, but if it stays offshore and runs up through the Bahamas, we'll probably sit it out.
How do people feel out here? What's the reaction?
Most of them I know are leaving. They're going to plan a big party over the airport over by the airport. So there's about 100 different people over there, I think. So most of them headed out.
Businesses continued to board up. The Sonesta Beach Hotel was deserted by early afternoon. The management asked everyone to clear out for their own safety and arranged alternate accommodations and transportation for all of their guests on the mainland. By then, the winds outside had started to pick up and the ocean had become choppy. During the hurricane of 1926, Key Biscayne was entirely underwater, enough so that a boat with a 7-foot draft passed right over the top of the island and beached itself in downtown Miami. This year, people on Key Biscayne seem to be taking the storm seriously.
I'm planning to go to my brother's house in Coral Gables. I've been here in Key Biscayne for approximately 18 years, and I've lived through several hurricanes, but this time I'm going to play it safe and go to my brother's house in the Gables.
Steve Croft, Newswatch 10 on Key Biscayne.
As we mentioned just a few moments ago, the Civil Defense and Red Cross has issued an emergency request for nurses, licensed nurses, to help out in the medical problems and shelters around Dade County. Let's go for more information on that now. Back live to the Civil Defense Department and Steve Croft. Steve?
Art, I'm here with Susan Lively of the American Red Cross. Exactly what is the situation right now, Susan? Where are the doctors and nurses needed and why?
They're needed in all of the shelters, but particularly in Allapattah Junior High and Miami-Jackson Senior High School. The reason for this is we've had a large influx of elderly people, handicapped people. Several of the nursing homes have brought their patients in and left, not leaving staff with them. Also, we have had 150 mental patients taken to one of the shelters. So we are requesting anyone, doctors, nurses, that would like to volunteer to please contact the Red Cross, 576-4600.
Which shelter was it that the mental patients were taken to?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Susan, and again, the shelters that need the doctors the most right now?
Are Miami-Jackson Senior High School and Allapattah Junior High School.
And the number again to call?
576-4600.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve Croft, Newswatch 10, at the Dade Civil Defense Department in South Dade.
Thanks, Steve. The Florida Keys are nearly deserted tonight, but the southernmost section of the Keys appears to be out of the path of the storm. Newswatch reporter Clarence Jones, who is in Marathon, tells us the quick evacuations by residents might not have been necessary.
People who live in the Florida Keys have resented the frequent criticism in recent years that they could not be ready if a major hurricane came, that a major storm in the Keys would become a national disaster. So for Hurricane David, they got ready days in advance. Early Friday, with David still hundreds of miles away, homeowners and businesses began boarding up, pulling their boats out of the water, tying them to stilt houses, or mooring them in sheltered canals. The movie Hurricane was supposed to play at the Marathon Theater, but it was canceled. Too many movie employees decided to hit the road. By Saturday at noon, the entire town was boarded up. Even the fast food places closed, primarily because there were not enough people left to run them. A Florida Highway Patrol plane cruised the islands late Saturday, and estimated 60% of the people had evacuated. Florida Highway Patrol Sergeant Gordon Stevens.
They have reacted very well. We've had no problems at all with the public or anyone here. I think everyone took, the advice that's been passed around, and those that were in trailers and what have you, they've already left. Our airplane was over the Keys this morning, and they said that looks like about 60% of the cars are even vacant from the homes in the area, so they've reacted very well.
The Salty Dog Restaurant and Bar was one of the few places still open for business Sunday. Manager Chip Chapman says he never leaves for hurricanes.
I've been down here since 1952. I've been through all the major hurricanes down here and never left the Keys. In fact, enjoyed the hurricanes. It's fun. It becomes a very democratic experience. Everybody is exactly the same.
Did you think about leaving?
For a while I did, then I decided I'd stay. I've never been through a hurricane before. And I thought I'd stay and try it and see if I'd done things right. I got it all buttoned up, and I'm ready for it.
At first, I was thinking of leaving, but went in.
What made you decide to stay?
I don't know. I couldn't make up my mind what to do, so I did nothing.
Can you go a little overboard about this business of preparing for hurricanes? Well, maybe. I'm Clarence Jones, Newswatch 10, at Marathon in the Florida Keys.
Still ahead, the bad weather follows the Dolphins all the way to Buffalo. Stay tuned.
You're watching one of the world's fastest cars, riding on Pirelli P7 steel-belted radials. But you don't have to drive a Porsche Turbo to drive on Pirelli. Pirelli builds superior tires in patented steel-belted radial molds for your car, too, imported or American. Pirelli, a car like yours deserves a tire like ours.
Pirelli 155x12 radial tires are available at an average price of $49.29 plus federal tax. Ask about Pirelli tires at Balado National Tire, 1633 Northwest 27th Avenue.
It's here, Levitt's Labor Day weekend sale with fabulous carpet savings throughout our South Florida showrooms. Carpet prices you will not believe. Save 10 to 50% on famous brands like Lee's, Cabin Craft, Alexander Smith, and many others. Plus exciting savings on area rugs and oriental styles, too. Don't miss it. Levitt's Giant Labor Day sale, now through Monday at Levitt showrooms in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Perrine. Hurry.
Love it at Levitt's. One thing we can be happy about today, the Dolphins have started out the season right.
Barely.
Barely?
Right,
almost.
Yeah. The Dolphins probably thought Hurricane David followed them up to Buffalo with hard rain in the second half and the stubborn Bills in both halves. The Dolphins had their hands full. Miami was totally frustrated in the first half, and the height of their frustration came in the second quarter. The number 83, Sherman White, you'll be seeing coming up on a tape right here, as Uwe von Schamann did not have a good day today. Here we go. Uwe is about ready to try a field goal here. But watch number 83 right in the middle, right there. He jumps up, gets his hands on it, and number 26, Charles Romes, gets his hands on the ball. He takes off. 76 yards later, he goes into the end zone. The Bills take a 6-0 lead. Dempsey adds the point after, and it's 7-0 at the half in favor of the Bills. Then in the third quarter, Von Schamann with a 35-yard field goal. He gets that one through, and Buffalo leads by the score of 73. Then a short while later, Von Schamann had to wait a very long time here. I'm not sure why, but the Dolphins took a long time getting this off. Now watch Strock here on the hold. He's going to bobble it, and that's going to force Uwe von Schamann to miss this one. This was a 38-yard field goal miss. That was not von Schamann's fault. Then in the fourth quarter, Larry Zonka, 22 yards on this run. He was 16 carries, 87 yards today. The big one had a great day. Zonka, a little while later, 1-yard plunge, and the Dolphins take the lead 9-7. Then we're back to Uwe von Schamann. In the rain, in a driving rain, he missed the point after, and that was the score. Now, with 4 seconds left to go in the game, Tom Dempsey has a try at a 34-yard field goal. It sails off to the left. Dolphins win it 9-7. Well, the Dolphins did not look good today, but they kept their streak going against the Bills. The win was the 19th in a row. Bob Greasy was 15 for 27 for 139 yards, 1 interception. Dolphins will stay in Buffalo tonight and make their travel plans based on what David does. There was one game played last night, and a surprise, Tampa Bay overwhelmed Detroit 31-16. Let's check the scoreboard for this afternoon's results. First of all, let me tell you that Miami is going to take on Seattle next in the Orange Bowl next Sunday, and I guess that would depend on what Frederick does, who is right behind David. Also this afternoon, Cleveland and the Jets, 22-22. That game still going on in overtime. It was Houston coming from behind to beat Washington. Earl Campbell, 166 yards. Moving along, Philadelphia beat the Giants 23-17. All their points came in the second quarter. Rafael Septien, 27-yard field goal with 1:16 left to go in the game, made Dallas a 22-21 victory. In that game, O.J. Anderson from the University of Miami, who was the Cardinals' first-round pick, 193 yards on 21 carries. Atlanta over New Orleans by the score of 40-34. That one was in overtime. Minnesota came from behind to beat San Francisco 28-22. Well, Chicago beat Green Bay 2-1. 2 field goals to 1 field goal, 6-3 final score there. Also, it was Kansas City shutting out Baltimore 14-0. Denver shut out Cincinnati 10-0. It was Oakland with 2 touchdowns in the second half, beating Los Angeles 24-17. In the fourth quarter, San Diego leads Seattle 33-10, and Pittsburgh, New England. That game is Monday night. It was also raining at the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York this afternoon. The wet stuff delayed play for about 2 hours, but they managed to get in a number of matches. Winners were defending champ Jimmy Connors, 3rd seed John McEnroe, and Roscoe Tanner, who was the 5th seed. On the women's side, those who advanced were Diane Fromholtz, Greer Stevens, Kathy Jordan, Tracy Austin, and Kerry Reed. Let's check scores from the American League this afternoon. California over Cleveland 5-2. It was New York over Kansas City 6-5 in 10 innings. California lead is now a game and a half. Baltimore beat Minnesota 3-1. In 11 innings, Texas over Boston 7-6, Milwaukee 7-2 over Chicago. It was Toronto over Seattle by the score of 8-5. Oakland took Detroit 5-4. Over in the National League now, it was Montreal beating Cincinnati 13-1. New York took Houston 5-4, so Houston still has a half-game lead in the National League West. 10 innings, it was Philadelphia over Atlanta. St. Louis took San Diego 2-1. Los Angeles got by Chicago by the score of 6-2, and it was Pittsburgh over San Francisco 5-3. At the BC Open this afternoon, the golf tournament there in Endicott, New York, Howard Twitty, 4 under 67 today. He won by 1 stroke over Tom Pertzer, and Carol Joe Scala won the LPGA tournament in Springfield, Illinois. That is a look at sports, and we are going to Anna.
To art.
To art.
Well, whatever you want to do. Thank you. When we return, we'll have some more things you want to keep in mind as David bears down on us. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Style, engineering, dependability, and the Peugeot engine, the heart of the 604. The Peugeot 604 from Mylands Motors is a fuel-efficient car with standard features like independent suspension, power-assisted rack and pinion steering, massive power disc brakes, and TRX steel-belted Michelin radials. The Peugeot can be found at Mylands Motors during the grand opening of their new showroom, 7401 Bird Road, Miami. Mylands Motors, South Florida's specialist for service on Peugeots and other superior imported cars for years.
Hamburgers?
No, grillers.
They look like hamburgers.
They're grillers.
They're hamburgers.
Honey, they're grillers.
Many doctors recommend a total dietary program that restricts fats and cholesterol. If hamburgers are one of the things you're cutting back on, try new grillers from Morningstar Farms. Grillers have no cholesterol, no animal fat, so consider them as part of your diet.
Hamburgers.
Grillers. Who cares? Your dad and me.
In Fort Lauderdale, many residents spent today preparing their homes and properties from David Onslaught. But Newswatch Broward Bureau reporter Carl Zadell says not everyone on the beach is packing up.
At 4 o'clock, the ocean was giving notice of what is to come. Although the beach people, as they're known here, continued to celebrate whatever it is that cheers them, hotels, motels, bars, and stores were shuttered against David's fury. It rained briefly and then cleared. The calm gave people like Grant Wenkstern time to board up his Harbor Heights house and waterproof east side doors.
I want to stay until I'm pretty well sure that there's going to be some dangerous tidal waves. Fortunately, my office is about 2 blocks from here, and it's a 3-story building. And we've got couches. And I believe if that one goes away, why, there wouldn't be much left of Fort Lauderdale or any South Florida.
Been through hurricanes here before?
Quite a few. I've been here since 1933.
You stayed in your home during them?
In all of them, yes.
This is a pretty high area here. I think we're a lot safer here than we'd be in West Broward, which is below sea level.
How high are you here?
about 16 feet.
So you're just planning to weather it out right here?
Yeah, I think we're better off right here rather than going someplace that we're not sure of.
All causeways are closed to eastbound traffic at this hour. Boaters seem, for the most part, to have taken the advice of authorities and moved their boats inland from beach marinas. Governor Graham has ordered low-lying areas in Dade and Broward County evacuated. But in the late afternoon calm of Fort Lauderdale, we found many people boarding up their homes, planning to sit David out right there. Their excuse? Either they didn't know about the governor's order, or they thought they were high enough above sea level to stay home. Carl Zadell, Newswatch 10, Fort Lauderdale.
A very important note right now. Police tonight are asking you not to dial the 911 emergency number unless it's an extreme emergency. Repeating, do not call them for answers on shelters and evacuation plans. Once again, don't flood the 911 emergency number with simple, routine hurricane preparedness questions. Tonight, the Dade County landfill sites are full. Not too surprisingly, they had been open for residents to throw away trash that could become flying, dangerous debris during a hurricane. Now officials say those tree limbs you cut down and other trash you've collected should be stored inside your house. Now, if you can't do that, the next best thing is to keep the trash in a sheltered area near the exterior of your home, and that, of course, is away from the wind. Anna?
Most airline service to and from Miami will stop tonight. The same situation is true for Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach International Airports. National Airlines canceled all of its flights at 6 this evening. Eastern's last flight will be at 8 tonight. That's shortly. The last regular flight out of Miami will be Delta at 10 tonight. All 70 airlines that service Miami have already or will by tonight fly all their planes to airports out of reach of the storm. Most domestic airlines, including Eastern and National, have moved their jets to cities in the Northeast and Midwest. Some of the international carriers cancel their flights well in advance. While the airport is busy emptying its runways, the opposite was true of its multi-level garages. By mid-afternoon today, the garages at Miami International Airport were overflowing and attendants were turning away cars. The overflow was caused by many Dade residents who hoped their vehicles would be safe in an enclosed garage. Art?
With all the attention focused on David right now, we of course cannot lose sight of Hurricane Frederick, who's right on his tail. Don has that report and the latest on David next on Newswatch.
Lee's Carpet is the people's choice, and right now, Carpet Plaza has a sale on the best-selling carpets Lee's makes. Lee's is the people's choice for a great selection of styles, colors, and patterns. Lee's and Carpet Plaza, two great names for quality. Carpet Plaza has the greatest selection of Lee's carpeting anywhere, and it's all on sale. Lee's is the people's choice, and right now you can save up to $6 a square yard. Carpet Plaza, something special for your floor.
You ask for it. Up to $2,000 savings on all Toyota Celicas. Finally, a volume sale on the cars you really want. The beautiful, quality-built economy car, Toyota Celica. We've shipped in thousands of extra Celicas so that we could bring you this unheard-of, never-before savings, up to $2,000. $600 from the U.S. distributor, $500 from the factory in Japan, and hundreds more from your Toyota dealers. $2,000 savings, only while this special shipment lasts. Open till midnight all weekend and Labor Day until midnight.
In just a few seconds, we're going to be cutting away to the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables for the latest advisory. What we've been trying to do during this past hour and through all our coverage, all of today, all of last night, and most of yesterday, is to give you an indication of just what to expect as the storm is approaching. Now, we've finally reached that point. The storm at last report was approximately 165 miles off the Florida coast, moving in such a direction that the eye of the storm will probably pass close to or near Miami, even possibly over. That right now we don't know for certain, but we do know the surf is picking up, the winds are picking up, and the rains are starting to come. The squall line will be here soon. Let's cut down now to the National Hurricane Center and see the latest advisory.
Hurricane warnings are in effect from Marathon to Cape Canaveral, including Lake Okeechobee and in the northwestern Bahamas. A hurricane watch is in effect from Cape Canaveral to Jacksonville and in the lower Keys west of Marathon to Dry Tortugas. David is moving steadily towards the southeastern Florida coast. All residents in the area of hurricane warning should have completed their actions. At 8 p.m., the center of Hurricane David was located over western Andros Island near latitude 24.5 north, longitude 78.2 west. This position is about 155 miles southeast of Miami. The hurricane is moving towards the northwest 12 to 15 miles per hour. On this course and speed, The center of the hurricane will be near the southeast coast of Florida in the pre-dawn hours Monday. Gales, heavy squalls, rising tides, rough seas will precede the arrival of the eye by several hours. Highest sustained winds are now 95 miles an hour, and the central pressure is 975 millibars, 28.79 inches. Gales extend outward 150 miles to the north and 100 miles to the south of the center. A further increase in strength is likely tonight. Tides will increase in the area of hurricane warnings tonight and reach 5 to 8 feet above normal near the point of landfall early Monday. Full hurricane conditions will sweep across the northwestern Bahamas tonight. The next advisory will be issued at 10 o'clock with an intermediate statement at 9.
Dr. Frank, I noticed that we have a 95-mile-per-hour wind now. Is that an indication that we may get a further increase?
Yes, we believe that the hurricane can still increase some as it moves out, as the central core moves out over the open waters of the Gulf Stream. The Gulf is very warm, and if the central core leaves the Andros Island area and moves out over the Gulf Stream, we think that it still could increase further tonight.
Your chief researcher here, John Hope, said that he heard that there were winds clocked at 115 miles an hour on Andros Island. Is that a possibility in South Florida?
Yes.
That much?
Yes. Well, you know, we're 95 miles an hour now. It wouldn't take much more to get on up over 100 miles an hour. I believe that those were probably estimated winds there, and you can be off a considerable amount in your estimates. But there's no reason why this hurricane couldn't increase some in strength as it moves out over the open waters. Now, there's a lot of times we look at conditions that are negative and says, no, this can't happen. We see no reason why it couldn't yet strengthen some as it approaches the coast.
Basically, through all these forecasts you've given us, have there been any surprises? It's just a slow, steady path toward Miami. There's nothing out of the ordinary here.
Absolutely. We're faced with a very, very delicate forecast situation on this storm. A small change in direction of the central core could take it offshore, could bring it into the coastline and right over us, and it's not within our ability to forecast with that kind of precision. So we feel that the course of least regret is say, yes, it's coming, go ahead and take your precautions, and we'll just wait and see just what the eventual course will eventually be.
But there's nothing now to suggest that it might not come.
No, absolutely.